And welcome to Mostly Minnesota Music Podcast Edition. I'm Ann Tracy, and I'm here with my co-host.
Heather Baker.
Yes, and we are excited today to talk to Hillary James. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello.
Yes, and we have been trying to get you on since we saw you play as Bathtub Sig months and months and months ago at the 331, and we both kind of fell in love a little bit.
Oh, thank you both.
Yeah, it was just, and we've seen you a couple times, but it was so much fun. So I want to just sort of start by asking you to introduce, because you play with a lot of bands, you have so many talents, but just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, I've lived in Minnesota for about 12 years and feel 100% Minnesotan at heart. I still don't know how to drive in the snow though, but who does?
Sure.
Yeah, and I just play a lot of music, however and wherever I can. I love it, and I've always been kind of a side person in other people's bands, and um, gosh, maybe like 4 years ago now, I started writing my own music, and just because I kind of felt compelled to, or like I have all these feelings inside of me, they need to go somewhere. So, but I never thought I would like show them to anyone. But here we are. I play my songs in front of people sometimes.
Your music is the songs that you write are, uh, they're very vulnerable. They're very touching. Is that something that you become more accustomed to doing? I mean, were you
No,
comfortable that the first time around? Yes.
yeah, no, um, it is so easy to play other people's music or music that doesn't have words or like joke songs, but I still just get extreme anxiety before performing my own bathtub sig songs because it is just like, here are my secrets, like here is my innards. And it doesn't get easier, but it has it still some for some reason just feels like a compulsion of like, okay, this is something I need and want to be doing still. So I don't know why, but yeah, it doesn't get easier.
I was going to say, I have hands down told more people to listen to your album, and everyone's like, it's exactly what I needed. So it
Oh,
might be hard for you, but it's a very useful tool, and everybody's chomping at the bit to catch your show or get more from you. So the pressure's on. I'm sorry.
oh, thank you. That's so sweet. And I think that's kind of everyone's hope to like, at least my hope and what I guess why I connect so much with music is it makes me feel less alone, or like kind of puts words to things I'm feeling, or like makes me feel what I'm feeling more. And so that's the highest compliment if someone says that it helped them feel. So thank you.
Absolutely. I was going to say the lyrics, like I was writing down some, I'm like, basically, I have to write all the songs, all the lyrics. I can understand why it's hard to share it, but I just think it's a beautiful time to be sharing, and I appreciate your honesty too. And I think it's such a connective, useful tool for everybody.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And I think you very much, and I'm thinking about your 2021 album Bed, especially, which is a lot about a friend that you have lost. And I know that both Heather and I lost very close friends when we were much closer to your age, which not everybody does. But to hear some of those songs are just, well, for me, they bring me back to a time, but in a retrospective way that makes me miss my friend, but
Mm,
also helps me kind of get through it. Because eventually, you don't, eventually, my friend has been 20 years, but you never lose that. And there's something that I enjoy about being brought back to that time.
yeah, yeah, that has already kind of felt. I think when I was writing those songs, especially the song Bed, which is the title track of that EP, was like half of it's kind of a wish of like, I hope that someday like everyone is like time heals all wounds, you know, and in the moment it's like, no, this is never going to go away. And a part of me didn't want that to go away because it was kind of a way to still feel close to her. Her name is Leah Ottman, who is also an amazing musician. Um, and but it it was also kind of a wish for myself of like, okay, someday I can like get out of bed again. Someday I can be in the world. And so it feels really nice to be able to still play those songs and still feel close to her in that way of like, oh, you're still here, and they don't hurt as much to play, but it still feels more like a bittersweet thing of like, cool, I'm like can carry you with me a little bit through these songs.
It's a great way to say it because I don't, as I said, it's been a number of years, but I still, and I know Heather thinks of her friend. I think of my friend more often than you'd think, in a very bittersweet, but in a I carry, for me, I look at the things that I think, oh, I wish she was here to take care of that kid of mine because she has the same trait.
Yeah.
She likes to wear makeup too. She could help her, just weird, and she passed long before my friend kids were born, it's just very,
Yeah.
but it's kind of to get to Heather's point, you write about things in such an authentic way and such a, that it really does, it's very cathartic to listen to.
Yeah, that's nice to hear because it's cathartic to write it. And I don't really I have a hard time with words, both like saying them and also writing them down. So the only way I know how to write lyrics is just like, here's the facts, here's exactly what I'm feeling in this moment. And uh, I think when I first started writing, I felt really bad about that of like, oh, there's like all these beautiful songs that have like such poetic words. And I still feel that like that is a beautiful thing, but I think I've come to accept my songwriting a lot more, or not feel like shame or bad or embarrassed about my songwriting because I'm like, well, this is me. This is like how I feel, and this is like the most direct way to get it out. So, yeah.
Oh, sorry, and I thought you were going to say something. I thought it was interesting because I know you play cello too, and when was listening to something you were talking about, you were like, it's such an emotional, loud instrument. Is there, what do I want to say? Is there something, an instrument in 2022 that you're feeling more connected to now, now that things have settled down a bit or whatever?
Yeah, I think cello is kind of the instrument I feel most fluent in, and like I can just sit down and like say or play anything I'm feeling. But I have, over the pandemic, I started learning guitar, and it feels so nice to just play guitar. So that's my favorite instrument right now. Yeah, and the songs I've been writing recently are just all on guitar, which is really fun to play around with that and to see how my songwriting is changing because of that. It feels really exciting yeah, to do that.
Where do you feel when you're writing songs on guitar? Do you feel more like go get 'em rockin' or what? You know what I mean? I find that fascinating that an instrument can be a different personality or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. I do exactly like you said. It feels more just like more confident kind of because when I play keyboard, which I started out writing all my Bathtub Six songs on keys or piano, there is some sort of like physical barrier between you and the stage, or like between just like you're sitting down, it feels like a lot more inward. And with guitar, it's like just the way you hold it is a lot more open and kind of forces you to like own what you're saying a bit more. At least that's how I feel And it also just like is amplified, it's electric, it's like a classic rock and roll instrument, and it just feels really powerful in a different way. And I, with the arranging of like the new songs, I still love having keyboard in there and love the texture, but it's not the primary instrument anymore. um and I think that like subconsciously also goes along with like my how I'm feeling about myself as like a songwriter, just like starting to get a little bit more confidence behind that. Yeah.
There's definitely a fuller sound to the songs in Night Blindness, you know, and I could see because with there's something just very heartwarming about the keyboard and your voice, and it's amazing. But then I listen to this, and I'm like, oh, it's not like there's an orchestra in the background, but you know what I'm saying. It's like a junior orchestra in the back. I mean, the your voice and the instruments are more entwined.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. um yeah, I think Night Blindness is closer to what like the sound that I am kind of envisioning. So it's fun. Yeah, it's just fun to hear it, and especially listening back to my first EP, um, which I don't remember what that was. Old Light. There we go.
Light, yeah,
I'd
I'll
be
be
like,
old light.
yeah.
2018, I think. There you go.
Thank you. Someone is
Librarian.
yeah, and to just kind of just be like, oh, cool. I'm like, things are kind of evolving slowly a little bit, and this feels really how I want things to feel. Yeah.
Did you go in with Night Blindness? Listening to it, and as Heather said, I had a good long walk today, and I listened to it a bunch of times, you know, over and over again. But it feels very much like an unpacking of the last few years, both in terms of what's happened with you personally, but also in the world. And for for anybody who's listening to this in the future, it's 2020. A lot's been going on. But I'm wondering if there was if you went in with a certain intention when you were coming up with the compilation with the curating.
So actually, this record was all recorded and done by like May of 2020, and it just felt like weird timing to put it out. It felt like definitely like this is of a different world, and it didn't feel right to put it out in the middle of a pandemic, and then with like the uprising and the murder of George Floyd, it's like this is not a time for this very self-indulgent record. There's like very important things that should definitely be taking up the sonic and emotional space. Um, and yeah, and so by the time it was, uh, yeah, by the time I was starting to maybe consider putting it out, I was going to like re-record a lot of it actually. Um, and then my friend Eric Littman, who record like engineered and mixed and co-produced the record, he had died really recently, um, and so
Sorry.
oh yeah, it's he's was just an incredible musician and just like one of the most supportive humans in the world, like such a cheerleader to everyone that he knew. Um, and it so I sat on it for even longer, and ultimately I decided to put it out because it felt like a really special timestamp of like my time with him. And like most of those vocals are scratch vocals in there. Like I sometimes listen to them and kind of cringe at how like they aren't necessarily how I would want them performed, but it also feels really special to be like, okay, well, these songs are about like self growth and like being an imperfect human, and these vocals also match that. And then kind of that coupled with Eric was the one that recorded these, and so that feels really special. So and retrospectively too, it's like, wow, this really does kind of line up with the past couple years when it came out. Yeah. But
I think
yeah, when I was
Swear
writing
to
the
God is one that I just think, I can't believe you wrote that. But I mean, it takes on such a different meaning that swear to God, I'm okay now.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Absolutely. I think that is a song that's kind of the maybe the darkest point of the record, and a lot of my songs are about my depression and my own mental health stuff. Um, and I think especially during the past couple of years and during the pandemic and just kind of a global shift um, in understanding what other humans are going through more, I think a lot more people are being um, more open and understanding of mental health issues and kind of realizing like, oh, pretty much everyone struggles with this. And yeah, so it, yeah, I think it is maybe good timing for that song to come out. Yeah.
I was gonna say, yeah, I would listen to it repeatedly, so it hasn't been the easiest time. So I do appreciate it, and I do appreciate, yeah, your openness to say that along with everybody else, more willing to speak of their struggles and share and try to connect rather than, oh, okay, I'm gonna leave you alone. I don't know what to do. I'd be like, listen to this.
Oh, also like, are you doing okay if you're listening to that song on repeat?
Oh, yeah, but I think it's helpful. Like you said, it really it just it's like, okay, yeah, it's helpful to hear it, and you have such like a beautiful and like Anne said, when we saw you, you're so playful and silly, and then you have the lyrics paired with it. It's like a perfect combination of all the things, you know? It's like you don't want to sit and stay in the sads, like you say. Can't stay there. So it has a really great way to be balanced.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think some of that is a little bit of a defense mechanism too of like, okay, if I like go full deep into these like into this depression or into these sad feelings, like will I be able to get back out again? And also like I don't want to listen to that. That's maybe too much. So I think I do oftentimes pair like really dark material with kind of some like wordplay or like lighter music to go with it. And I think that's a very human thing too, of definitely in Minnesota of like, oh, I'm really depressed, lol, like kind of pairing humor with some darkness.
If we couldn't joke about the snow, we couldn't live here. I
I
mean,
know, so true.
I think too that it gives a talking point. It's hard to when someone and when someone comes up and just says, "I'm in a dark place." It's really you can reach down a rope, but if you can get something where you're talking more like, "Oh yeah, I understand that now," yes, that yes, I do have that feeling too. I do have that, and I think of some of that with the with champagne, some of the pictures that you've painted with that. I'm like, oh yeah, I've had that big broken heart too. Now we got a level playing field we can talk about,
Yes,
and a million things, 10 million things to do. It does
yes,
helps bring that conversation even further afield.
yeah, yeah.
Can
That's so.
you expand on that song? Because that's some of my favorite lyrics too.
Oh yeah, I um wrote that song a really long time ago. Actually, I was dating someone, and we went to Paris together and ended up breaking up in Paris. It was just like a very explosive relationship, just really not healthy at all. And I wrote that song on the airplane on the ride home, actually. Um, and it was like, I think a lot of people have experienced that kind of heartbreak where you're like, good riddance, I'm exhausted from this relationship. And like, I've got all these things to do, and I like still love this person. I'm like still in love with this person, even though it just like ended in the worst way possible. Yeah. And Yeah.
What a great souvenir.
Right? Who needs an Eiffel Tower keychain when you can have a sad breakup song instead?
Be like, oh my God, I'm so envious of people, you to like to be able to get your feelings in situations and kind of get it out and be in a useful, helpful way and making good music for everybody else to enjoy. I don't know, I marvel at songwriting so much.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think um like anything, it just kind of takes work and just like showing up to it. I have this group of friends who are all amazing musicians in Minnesota that we've done the Artist Way book a few times. If you've heard of that, where it's just like anyone can make art in any way, and half of it's just like showing up and not judging yourself to do it. Um, yeah, which I think has been really helpful for me to kind of have that mind frame, because I never thought of myself as like a songwriter ever, or a singer, or I'm like, I'm a musician that's like a backup person and I feel comfortable and like confident and like good in those roles, and never thought I had anything of value to say. So it still kind of blows my mind when anyone's like, I listened to your songs and it resonated. That's just the biggest compliment.
Yeah, I am a huge fan. So to hear you say you don't see yourself as that, it's just, yeah, mind blowing a little bit. But yeah, it was just to get your feelings out. Like you never wrote a bit before.
No, well, so I was in a band with my sister, like a surf punk band called Fiji 13. Um, that was kind of like a feminist, political anger punk, but all the songs were like joke songs, like strictly like there's a song about mansplaining and like, you know, stuff like that. And um, so for me, I'm like, well, these are all jokes. Like, yes, this is like rage that I'm feeling against the patriarchy and like capitalism. But it was, I think, the format was always just like, this is for fun, this is silly. If anyone doesn't like the lyrics, like, it's okay because they're all jokes anyways. Um, yeah, so I never considered myself having anything personal and valid to say. I'm like, well, I'm just have like major depressive disorder, and I'm like kind of just struggling when I take my meds all the time. Um, so yeah, but I think everyone has like a unique and extremely universal perspective at the same time. And so if you want to write music, I think you would have some beautiful things to say, and I would listen to your songs.
I don't know. I feel like I'd be a copycat because I'd be like everything she said. But it is interesting because talking to musicians and stuff, I'm just like, oh my God, it's such a cool tool. So it's just, yeah, it's very inspiring to hear somebody of your stature to be like, I don't know what I was doing. I just put it out there. So I just, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
You're very prolific, and even now knowing that the Night Blindness was really written more in 2020. I mean, you put out something in 2018, 2021, 2022 that was maybe written in 2020, on top of doing Where the Willows and the Esme Patterson and all the other stuff that you do. That is that's creating a volume fast.
Yeah, I feel very, very lucky that um, I just do music, and I've kind of like been hustling for the past 10 years to like get in this spot, and I've done so much nannying and bartending and all those things, and I'm finally in a spot where all my income, my meager income, comes from playing music. So I'm very fortunate in that I just get to do that all day. Um, yeah, it's the best. I still pinch myself of like, I am living my dream. And it's exhausting. It's
Congratulations.
really hard, but like I just feel so lucky.
That's fantastic. Good work. Good
Yeah.
work. Because it takes more than artistic or musical talent to get to that point. I mean, it takes the perseverance. It takes the so. Congratulations and good work.
Thank you. I think it also takes a lot of like just being in the right place at the right time. Like there's a lot of people who are super talented that I know that I'm like, there are these other people in these like huge bands and sounds like they're not very nice people. Or, you know, like that like my friends are just as talented as like, I don't know, Keith Richards. Like why aren't they why aren't they that famous and wealthy? So yeah, I think a lot of it it's definitely a lot of hard work, and it's also just like being in the right place at the right time. And um yeah, I don't
A
know
huge part of
how it
being
works,
in
but
the right place at the right time is being in a lot of places.
yeah, definitely.
I mean,
Yeah.
luck is kind of meeting the good fortune of preparedness, but it's also being in a lot of places, and that's exhausting.
Yes, it is. And uh really great. Yeah, I think my brain too is like so scattered that it does well when I have like a million different projects that I'm doing to kind of like keep it a little bit focused. And um yeah, so it's fun to play in a ton of different bands.
I was going to say, I saw that you had posted something cool, and I would like to hear a little bit more about it. You had some grant working with rural community kids for the Her Crooked Heart.
Yes. So two of the bands that I play in, We Are the Willows and also Her Crooked Heart, um, the past 3 or 4 years, I think, have been lucky enough to receive grants through the State Art Board of Minnesota, where you go to 4 different rural communities around Minnesota and do for a week in each community and do songwriting workshops and storytelling workshops and pop-up performances and playing in nursing homes and just like a lot of community arts outreach. And unfortunately that grant is no longer. This was the last year of it, but it was just the most incredible experience. And especially getting to like work with high schoolers and elementary schoolers and being like, you can write songs, like let's get those feelings out and write these songs. It was so cool. It was just so special and meaningful. And I think for both of those bands, and especially We Are the Willows, we're really wanting to kind of incorporate more community engagement into our regular touring because it just feels so important. And especially with arts funding getting cut in a lot of places, it feels even more important to like go to tiny towns like on our way to play club shows, you know, and find a way to keep doing that. Yeah, it's just the most special thing.
What a gift to those students just to have an opportunity to express all of your feelings,
Yeah.
especially in the era that we're in, you know.
Yeah. And it felt like such a gift for all of us as well too, to like get to witness that and just to like, I don't know, to just let people know like anything, like a future in the arts or a future in any creative field that you want to do is possible. Yeah, I didn't have that as a kid. I don't know about you all, but I didn't know that it was like, I didn't know I could be like a musician for a job that wasn't like a symphony musician or, you know, the things that everyone knows about. So yeah, that feels, and it's just was a really cool program.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I was going to say it would be interesting to see some of the kids or how you see it and go, ooh, I see a little bit of myself or some, you know what I mean? Just their ambition or whatever when you're there as the adult or amazed at their ability at whatever age. I think it's kind of cool how you can reverse. and see
Truly.
that of them.
Yeah, it really was all of that.
It's like the what's the School of Rock or something, you know what I mean?
Yes. Also, such a good movie, by the way.
No, I truly do. I do a lot of work in rural areas and more in the entrepreneurialism, but it's the same. If you've never known somebody who's owned a business, if you've never known somebody who is an artist, if you've never known somebody who any of that, and I think to be able to give that to them is so amazing. And then
Yeah,
you learn so much yourself.
exactly, exactly. It feels super cliche, but it's like I wondered, like, I think we got more out of it than they did. It was just such a cool, beautiful experience.
Me, just the poaching of good lines alone. No. But it does kind of get you full, when you hear, and then especially when you're writing very much from how you feel kind of perspective to, and that's how kids tend to write, is this is how I see things. That must be rewarding too, to hear, oh, it does sound good coming from someone else. That is a legit. That's because I think it's a very legit form, of just describing what's in front of you.
Yeah, and I think it's so easy to kind of dismiss your own efforts or the things that come out of you, but then when you hear it from other people, it's like, this is so great. Or yeah, yeah. Like I give really great advice to my friends, but then when it comes to like giving that advice to me, I'm like, oh, I don't do that. So it kind of feels similar with songwriting or performing.
Great. That's great. You, as Bathtub Sig, have an opportunity to do some touring later in the summer, I think.
Yes, I was very fortunate enough to get asked to go open on a tour for the East Coast in August with an amazing, amazing local band called Yellow Ostrich. If you've heard of them before, they're incredible, just so good. And like some of the kindest humans ever, which is just like the best when some of your favorite bands are like great people too. So I'll be doing opening up for them, doing a solo act for them, and I'm just thrilled.
That's great. That's
Yes,
great.
yeah,
And for folks who are listening, where else can people see you between now and then? Maybe closer to home, because as you
yes,
said, you play with a number of different bands. So I don't need an exhaustive list because we'll be here another hour. But just give us a peppering of where you're playing in with whom.
yeah. So Bathtub Sig full band will be playing July 24th at the Eagles Club, which is one of my favorite spots. And then We're the Willows is playing Lower Town Sounds in St. Paul, which is a free all ages outdoor show. I really should have checked my schedule before this, but that's all I remember.
I
Oh,
believe that's in July 28th. Again, I'm a librarian, so I know this stuff. You
thank
may be
you.
playing at the Keg and Case on June 18th.
Yes, 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 we are. Thank you.
Librarian.
So good. Got those
Librarian
glasses.
who lives in St. Paul. I can memorize things that are happening in St. Paul.
Yes. And then I think August 2nd is the tour kickoff, which will be full band Bathtub Sig and Yellow Ostrich at the entry. So that'll also be a
Fantastic.
super fun show.
That's fantastic. Well, that gives us some things to look forward to. That's fantastic. And
Yes.
I will include this in the notes, but where's the best place online for people to find you?
I'm on all streaming platforms and Bandcamp, so anywhere. I'm also on Craigslist.
Under Bathtub Sig, right?
Yeah, yes. Bathtub Sig, CIG, like the gross cigarette. Yeah.
Oh wait, can I ask how you chose that name? Because I love it.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out names, and I was like, maybe shower beer. It's like kind of rowy and gross, and then I was like, no, sadder, and so I picked Bathtub Sig, and I haven't told my mom yet the band's name because, like, my band is called Bathtub, Mom.
CIG.
Yeah, CIG. Yes, it stands for carrots in ground. Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
It also never ends. There's some things I still won't tell my mom.
Yeah.
That's just a scar, Mom. Don't worry about it. You're
Oh,
unique and universal. Your music, you're very unique and universal. It's so much fun to listen to the music in all the different formats, but we're and now I'm trying to think if we did see you play as Shower Beer at the 331.
Oh, might have been my alter ego where it's just backing tracks.
Yeah,
oh yes, it
I
was.
remember
Oh,
seeing
yeah.
that show too. Yeah, that was
Yeah, that was my one and only Shower Beer performance. That was just like trying out some stuff.
it shouldn't be the one and only. It was it was memorable, and for some reason I feel like it was in February. I feel like it was dark months, anyways. Just Minnesota dark months, and I remember thinking, this is great.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I need to really work on my lung capacity before I continue.
Well, yeah, I could see where that would be you would. Yeah, you need to be doing some Richard Simmons, working up to that to put it in an era that no one else will get. But
Yeah.
well, there's another format we'll look forward to seeing you in. So,
Yeah.
Hillary, thank you so much for joining us, and it's a delight to get to know you better. And now, yeah, I've got the July 24th date written down at the
Eagles.
entry.
Oh, sorry.
Eagles. No, the Eagles. You're right. That's if I don't.
Entries in August.
Okay.
Oh, and I think that's June 24th. I'm not sure if I said July. Eagles is June 24th.
June 24th.
I have a hard time with words. So thank you.
We got it. We'll get it right for the notes.
Thank you.
Thank
It
you
was
so much.
great to see you again, Ann and Heather. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.